So, the camera has decided to go completely derp again. To be fair, I'm pointing it at a window, so that's to be expected. Oh, that's this side. Oh, well, whatever. Screw it all. Oh, there we go. So, sound check. Oh, there we go. Oh, damn it, forgot it's on the main speaker. Great, so that sound check's over. Nobody's turning up. Okay, well, let's go announce this thing. Nobody's watching. Yep, there's only me. Oh, there we go. Nope, that's still just me. Twitch is confused. Okay. Actually, I could try doing it. Nope. Go to hell. There we go. Seems to make a little bit more sense to me. Nah, doesn't make a difference. How do I get people to understand that there's gonna always be a stream at whatever time it is right now? 7. Oh, uh, there is somebody actually watching. I thought I was alone. Okay, sorry about that. So, since somebody is watching, so the plan for today is I'm going to be doing a full sort of motherboard setup, and I'm just going to be testing out a new motherboard I got. So, for today, yeah, so unfortunately, due to the death of the, what's it called? The death of the Sabertooth, I had to go out and get a new motherboard because I'm not really interested in benchmarking a 4790K, and I really wanted to try this motherboard out. So this here is the Gigabyte GA-990FX-Gaming. There's currently an unboxing video of it on my YouTube channel, but you know, I'll go over everything that's useful to know about this board right here, right now, because you know, the whole basically stream is going to be about playing with this board. So the plan for today is basically I'm going to be doing a lot of testing and probing and, so I got multimeter, multimeter stuff, oscilloscope ready, though it's not turned on, temperature probe. So basically just check if the motherboard is any good for actual LN2 use, which it should be. So rough specs on this is the VRM controller located up here is a 3564B. If that sounds familiar, then that's because it's a smaller version of the 3567B, which is used on the Fury X, all the Furies, all the 290Xs, all the 390Xs, as far as I'm aware, and a bunch of motherboards. Basically, this is a 4+1 phase, so that's a 4+1 phase VRM controller. Now, this doesn't look like a 4-phase, this looks like an 8+2, and that's because there's doubler chips. I'm not sure what frequency they're running at, but basically, it takes the 4 phases from the controller and splits them up into 8, while cutting the frequency in half, so, you get roughly the same quality of power as on a 4-phase, but it's more power available overall. So that's that. Other than that, the motherboard has, upgraded audio section and a bunch of stuff I don't care about, like a killer Ethernet controller. Killer network controller, sorry. And yeah, but then it also has, which is a big upgrade from the Sabertooth, postcode. So if something goes wrong now, I actually know what's wrong instead of just going, oh, CPU problem, memory problem. Yeah, and then it has on-off button, reset switch, BIOS switch. It does come with dual BIOS, so it should be a pretty good board for benching, just based on the rough spec of this. So I'll just quickly throw together, and yeah, I'm going to run it on air cooling today, of course, because, just testing it out. And I'll run a bunch of different memory on it. So I want to check that it does both tight timings, low frequency, loose timings, high frequency. So I'm going to run the PSC sticks, I'm going to run the Kingston stuff, and I'm also going to run the Corsair XMS3s. And yeah, so let's get to this. I'm going to throw the board on the MSI box and get the camera in the tripod. So I also finally have Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut, so I am going to be doing another 8 gigahertz attempt with this board as a final check on whether this board is up to scratch. Because, if it can't do the same gigahertz as the Sabertooth, then obviously this is the worst board. So yeah, first things first, I'm just gonna, actually RAM first, or, nah, heatsink, RAM, heatsink, I'm gonna go with RAM first. So first thing I'll be testing is just, no, those are a pain to deal with. I'm just gonna go raw frequency, so a single 4 gig stick. I'll also have to set up Windows later on, but I'm not gonna do that at the start because I don't want to deal with it yet. Although Windows 10 might just work fine on this. Not sure. And for the graphics card, I'm going to be using the 5870 again, because the 4870 obviously I need to pour LN2 in the damn thing, and I'm not going to waste it just to test out if this new motherboard works. So, there we go. Those are some really tight USB ports. So, let's go. And, oh yeah, cost-wise, this is actually cheaper than the Sabertooth. It's 120 pounds on where I bought it. So it was like 124 pounds from overclockers.co.uk. So yeah, in America it's even cheaper. And basically this is Gigabyte's competitor for MSI's 990FX-Gaming, and based on, I had the 970 Gaming from MSI, which uses the same VRM as the 990FX-Gaming. This VRM is better. Just on paper spec, this one is better. This does a 320 amps, and it's much better quality. These are Renesas MOSFETs with, IR control on everything. So if this is properly set up, you shouldn't be able to burn it out. Whereas the MSI is just, yeah, that thing will combust if you force it far enough. So I need to get that 5870 out of its drawer. And yeah. Also, this board has the metal PCIe cover protectors, which are nice. And those are soldered directly into the board, so they're hella hard to rip out. Though, if you pull on them hard enough, I imagine you would warp the board if it was, you know, hooked up with standoffs. But yeah, you can lift the motherboard by those things. So they are really, like, really sturdy. So, yeah. And they're not actually part of the PCIe slot. They're more like a cover. The PCIe slot is still its own separate plastic piece, whereas these are sort of inlaid on top of them. So in theory, you could desolder it and pull it off, though I don't know why you'd ever want to do that. Though if I find a reason to do it, I'll do it. So where did my box of thermal paste go? Oh, there it went. So, let's see. And yep. And also I'll be doing a whole, you know, getting acquainted with the BIOS, because I've never used this motherboard before, and it might be running Gigabyte's latest version of UEFI. I'll also be doing LLC, voltage holdup testing, all that kind of jazz to make sure that I don't have to deal with a whole bunch of garbage when doing LN2. So let's put some thermal paste on there. So this is, again, just Cooler Master Gel. And I got it for free, so I'm really, really not fussed about wasting it. There. That's, yeah. More. There we go. Throw the heatsink on there. Yeah. And this time this will probably lock in properly. And let's go. Let's see. I have the hold downs tightened down fully this time, so I wonder if I'll get them to... Huh, okay, so on this board, these heatsinks sit. Or maybe it's a newer revision of the heatsink, because I remember having one, like, I have two of these, and the last one I bought, I think, in 2013, and that version was awful. Like, I couldn't get it to mount at all. So, I'm kind of surprised that this went so smoothly right now. And yeah. Also, if you were ever wondering how to measure voltages on motherboards with a digital multimeter, yeah, you'll see how to do that later, because I'll be doing everything basically today just to test out the board. One thing I'm really sad about is there's a pretty bad lack of fan headers on this thing. Like, there's 4 of them as far as I can tell, so you'd need you know, some fan extension cables or some controller or something, because this board doesn't have enough. Yep. Yeah, there's only one CPU fan header over there. There's another system fan. There's another fan here, and there's one more fan down here, and that's it, right? So if you're using it in a system build, not many fan options, which for an AMD system sucks because they tend to run really hot, and that's bad. That really didn't sound good. Is that inrush? Well, I don't smell magic smoke, so what the hell? Just I may be just flipping the switch. Also, this is the 9590 that I used in the past for the 8 gigahertz attempt, so we'll know if I killed it today. That postcode is going insane. Okay, nope, it's booting. It's booting just fine. So, deactivate the autofocus. Okay. There. BIOS. So let's check out the BIOS then. Right. I have a bunch of measuring equipment right there. I really needed that capture card. I put this... Oh well, you're going for an adventure with a camera. Whoop. There we go. This looks familiar to me. Good old Gigabyte UEFI. This is the UEFI I actually know. So, vCore says 1.5 volts. That looks normal. 31 CPU temp. That looks fine. Yep, I don't see anything that seems to be screaming fire, so all good on this end of things. So I guess first I'm going to try if this thing will run XMP. Huh. Well, so this is a 2400 megahertz rated kit. Here's the other stick from it. Will you be actually able to see it? Huh. Well, here's the other stick from the kit. So these are 2400 HyperX Beast sticks. Hynix something. I think they're MFR since they're single-sided. But yeah, and they clock about 2900, well, 2800, 2900. Not the best stuff ever. But anyway, this motherboard is only rated to do DDR3 2000. So this being a 2400 megahertz kit is, you know, I can't get it to, right? If I go through the profiles, it's still saying 2133. So that's a bit of a problem. So I'll see if it loads up the second profile, because that's a 2133 profile. And let's see. Well, the postcode is happy by the looks of it. Also, those postcode LEDs are red, which is just like, yeah, that's nice. It's a nice feature. Okay, so 2133 seems to be working fine. Let's see if it'll do 2400. I'm just gonna see how far I can boot the memory with this. So, yeah. And Gigabyte BIOS is a little awkward compared to Asus BIOS to just use and get around, but it works. So, why is that so high? Now, let's see, can I type into it? Okay, I can type into it. Thank God for that. I really do not appreciate when motherboards force you to, you know, scroll through a bajillion option long menu to try get at some basic settings. Do you not have a 12? It really doesn't have a 12, so it has an 8. It has a 10. Aw. Okay, that's nice. So Gigabyte's BIOS is smart enough to autofill. So what will it give me for a 9? Good. Okay, that's actually really... Yep, okay, that's actually really smooth. I appreciate that. So let's put it back to 10. Yeah, and I'll downclock the CPU to... There, 4.5 gigahertz, and then you get your advanced CPU features. So this is nice for people. It's just, yeah. Okay, I am really happy. This is exactly what I remember of Gigabyte BIOS. So that makes my life. And we get, okay, this is what I really, really, really like with Gigabyte boards. 1 core per CU, or as I like to refer it, high IPC mode. Basically, this disables one of the extra, well, it disables some of the extra core logic inside the CPU. So you know how Bulldozer has the whole module scheme, and in an 8-core there's 4 modules, and each module has 2 cores. So with this thing, you can disable one of the cores, which is the compute unit. That's what the CU stands for. So you can disable one of the cores, which gives all of the core, well, you can disable, in this case, it'll disable 4 cores on the in the CPU, And in return, you get 4 cores which have access to all of their modules' resources. So they don't have to share the memory controller, they don't have to share the cache, they don't have to share anything, they don't share the FPU. And this gives you a significant boost in single-threaded, performance, um, as long as you're only running 4 threads, because it basically overrides the management. This is kind of convenient for running like SuperPi and stuff. The other thing I want to test with this motherboard is if it will unlock the cores on my 2-core and 2-core phenoms, because I really want to run them in 3-core mode for 3-core benchmarks. For now, that's nice, so I'll just leave that in automatic because automatic runs it in 8 cores. Cool and quiet, disable. Yeah, so it has you can disable boost, and if you have boost enabled, then you can set a custom boost ratio. So I'll just leave that disabled because I'm not going to be using boost at all. So yeah. Now, advanced memory settings. Okay, so that's where they buried it. So let me guess. That still autofills. Yep, Gigabyte is on top of their BIOS. So you can have you have auto, quick, and expert mode. So if you do quick, it gives you, these options. It doesn't let you play with voltages? How do I get the voltages? Oh. And typing here works as well, so that's good. North bridge voltage, CPU V-core. I'm gonna pull that down. That's way too high. I couldn't, like, the heatsink I have right on there right now, it wouldn't work at all, basically. North bridge, 1.2. I'm gonna try get some decent memory out of this, so PCIe, okay. CPU, yeah, and they have proper labels for everything, so that's CPU PLL voltage instead of what Asus does, where it's like VDDA or something. So overall, I actually prefer this BIOS, and we got LLC. Now this is something I'll be testing out a lot because, can I just type in percentages? Standard. What about 10? Medium. 5? Medium. 7? Medium. 8? Medium. Okay. How do I, what, this is not gonna work. Extreme? Okay. Well, thank you for making the most convoluted. Okay. Medium to S? S, no. Well, that's convoluted as hell. Low, standard. Okay. For now, I'm gonna run it on normal, and then I'll test out the, there's a lot of screen glare, sorry about that. Yeah, for now I'll just run it with normal load line calibration, and then eventually I'll do like Cinebench at basically these settings, I think, and I'll check how much voltage droop there is with every LLC setting. I also really hope I need to get a in OS tuning utility, and I know Gigabyte has one. I just need to figure out what it is because I only ever used AI Suite. So I think I've messed with enough stuff at this point. Let's see if I broke anything. Okay, still booting. Okay, so the CPU is running a lot cooler now. And yeah, I'll just crank the, let's see. Okay, so it got that. And I'll run profile 1 for this, because profile 1 is the 2400 megahertz one. And yeah, okay, so this is the one thing I don't like about Gigabyte's BIOS. 2200 times whatever that multiplier is supposed to be is not 2400. This updated properly. These are wrong. right? Because if I set this to 200 right now, they're still 2424. So yeah, that's really my only complaint with Gigabyte's BIOS is usually that they don't update properly. So that should work. Yeah, I'm gonna just, so you'll need a calculator to do this stuff properly with one of these, which is kind of annoying. It does have a somewhat long. Okay, so 2300 works. I'll keep pushing it until it just stops working. So that'll be right over 2400, and I'll drop those another step and wait a minute. Oh, that's actually right. Right, okay. So the way this goes, your memory speed needs to be less than your Northbridge speed. 10 times 2300 is less than 2400. Well, 10 times 23 is less than, 2400, so I'm going to have to crank that one up to there, 11. And yeah, at this point it should be fine. And now I don't have to change those because, just raise frequency through FSB, and just keep raising that. Okay. I'm really surprised that Gigabyte didn't give this a 2400 multiplier because it's working fine right now. It doesn't really make sense to me that they couldn't be bothered, but okay, 2500. Let's go. Past 2600-ish, it starts to be more of a CPU constraint than a motherboard thing, so since I don't have the Sabertooth working, I can't actually check if it's the motherboard or the Saber. I mean motherboard or the CPU. So far, so good. I mean, it's nice that it's not crashing yet, but I really want to see the actual recovery capabilities of the board eventually, where it crashes and it needs to, get itself back up and running from the crash. So I'll just try 2600, and I think I'm going to need more Northbridge at this point, so I'll give it that, and CPU's overclocked to hell again, so there we go. It's a strong board. Okay, I'll see if it can get all the way into Windows. Okay, so that seems to be working as well. This is Windows 10. I have no idea what's actually installed on this copy, but whatever's missing I can probably just throw right on there. Ooh, this is going to be awkward. So, I just realized something. I need the motherboard, like, upside down to check anything that the VRM spits out with the multimeter and the oscilloscope. So, well, for one thing, the metal PCIe slots will become very, very useful, but the other thing is, that's still really awkward. That's gonna be dodgy as hell. Oh well. Okay, so this all loaded up. Let's see how. Yep, tricks. What is with this GPU? I swear I put thermal paste on it properly. This 587. Wait. Did I put? Nah, it should be fine. Yeah, this 587 has a problem. It runs stupid hot for some reason. So I don't know if you can hear the fan now, but if you can, it's because I just changed the fan settings for it so that it doesn't kill itself. Okay, so memory's good. This does have a benchmark in it. I don't know what's a good score for this though. So, Cinebench. Let's go get that. I need to like actually, yeah, okay, found it. Go. See how this bench is. Display settings. I despise Windows 10. A lot. I really don't like Windows 10. No, what on earth? Why? There. Keep. Okay. Have tricks. We have all that. Does this have core temp on it? Should. Okay, you know what? Let's just get Cinebench. Where is it? And yeah, I prefer 11, so folder CB11. And 11 is just a tad heavier than 15. Yeah, but it's not really noticeable in terms of like actual stability testing. It's more just how much heat it puts out. Because it's a tad heavier at the start and then it cleans itself up later on, so. So a bunch of new people joined the stream. Wait. Well, Twitch hasn't updated the viewer list, so that's that. Oh, whoa. I think. Okay, so I think Okay, so if you look, and wait a minute, I'm gonna get the focus in check. Ta-da! There. So those timings are actually really loose. I thought it would have kept the default XMP profile, but obviously it changed it. Though Northbridge is running 2700, which is pretty good. So 12, 15, 16, yeah, that's garbage. This memory is rated at 11, 13, 13, 13, and it should do whatever settings it has on right now. Well, this frequency, it should do it at 11, like 11, 14, 11, 13. So I'm going to go back into the BIOS and fix that after Cinebench finishes. But yeah, so far I feel like I could probably plasti dip the motherboard in the next 24 hours and get running LN2 again within, you know, well, in time for Wednesday I should be able to run this thing on LN2. Oh yeah, about the streams. I've decided a very simple system so that all the people who want to watch the streams know when the streams are. If it's if it's 7:30 in the UK and you check this Twitch and there's no stream going on, there's not going to be a stream. Okay? That's how you know there isn't one. And streams will be every Saturday and every Wednesday. And if it's Saturday and there isn't a stream, well, at 7:30 in the UK, there's not going to be a stream. And if it's Wednesday, then the same thing applies. So, Signbench finally installed, so I can quickly run that. Run. Also, I should probably get a temperature monitor. Decline. Oh, I'm an idiot. Accept. Nobody reads the freaking EULA. Why would you even... Okay, come on. I'm really not liking Windows 10 at this point. Okay. And I do need core temp just to check temperatures. Ideally, I'd want to be using AMD Overdrive, but core temp works if you know what to like ignore and what to read. So now I like core temp, but there's a few installers of it out there that are like full of absolute garbage. So, and I think this one is actually safe. Yeah, okay, this is a nice safe version of it. But I do remember there's a few versions of core temp which if you run the setup and just click through, just yes your way through it, you're gonna end up with like the ask toolbar and stuff. So yeah, there we go. So right now temperature is reading garbage. Let's run Cinebench. Oh yeah, and unfortunately my current clamp is still broken, so I can't actually check current draw. However, I do have a wall, wall power meter, so here, and that's currently set to amps. So I'm getting 240 from the wall, and right now it's reading 1.43. So, that's 1.43 times 240. What's that? That's slightly over 300 watts. So, yeah. So, in line with an FX-9590's typical power draw. This is not a minimized voltage, so 1.4 volts at 4.5 gigahertz. Yeah, it's going to pull a lot of power right now. Yeah, and the score is meh. So that's not the, yeah, that's actually a pretty garbage score. But at least everything seems to be working. Nope. Everything seems to be stable. I remember how this BIOS works decently, so that's good. Also, I need to get the gigabyte version of CPU-Z so I don't misrepresent the board. So yeah, by the way, since this is actually a really relaxed process for me, so if you have any questions, you're free to drop them in the chat right now. So yeah, and Oblong Shack Slap is saying that Safe Core Temp installer is available from the official website. Yeah, I don't know how I got my hands on a bad version of it. I just had a bad installer, and I'm like, what the hell? And I know I had to trash a whole, well, I couldn't be bothered with cleaning it up, so I trashed the whole install of Windows, because again, it was just a benchmarking install. Alright, so advanced memory settings. Timings are set to auto. This is set to auto. Yep. These are all set to auto, even though, okay. I'm just going to set these to quick. And DRAM, wait. Oh no. Wait, what? There's no channel A? Do you mean there's no channel A? Okay, we're gonna 13, 13, 32, see if that boots, and if it does, everything's good. That actually should improve the scores quite a bit. So, let's see the postcode. This board is really nice to work with. B-die, E-die mean. So, B-die, E-die, they're all different memory chips made by Samsung, and the letters denote a letter in the product number, if I remember correctly. And E-die is basically, I think, currently the second best DDR4 memory type you can use. So E-die is like typically it'll do something like 3812 with 1818. And what? It's not the generation, it's a type of die because E-die is B-die comes in 8 gig sticks. eDie comes in 4 gig sticks. They're completely different memory ICs. So that's just part of their label. Yeah, so like yeah, and so eDie, BDie, those are both from Samsung. There's also DDie, which I have. I have some DDie. DDie is cancer. DDie is the worst stuff ever. You can find 8 gig sticks of DDie, but they're rare. They're pretty rare now because BDie should have replaced all of it at this point. And eDie is only used for 4 gig sticks, even though it could, in theory, be used for 8. And yeah, for Micron, there used to be similar denotations, but nobody really cares about Micron ICs these days that much. So yeah, and this is going to be painful. Yeah, so basically they're just a type of memory IC, and BDI and eDI are really, really good. Other than that, there's, yeah. So yeah, and there's Hynix, AFR, MFR, CFR, BFR. BFR is garbage. MFR is what I'm running right now. CFR is like MFR except higher density, lower clocks. AFR is DDR4, and it's the best memory IC for high frequency. You can get like 42, yeah, 4200 is doable on AFR. Yeah, and MFR is MFR was really popular on X99 because if you had a well-binned MFR kit, it would do like 3000 CL10, which at the time was basically the best stuff you could get for a X99 setup, and it was also the most stable because X99 doesn't like running above 3200. Well, there are some motherboards that work fine above 3200, but generally 3200 is where they top out. So, that score seems more or less the same, doesn't it? At least the temperatures are good. I really wish I had a lighter graphics card. I think I'm gonna pop down to town like in the next few days to get like a super cheap, crappy graphics card secondhand. They should be selling these for like under a 10, under £10. So if I find one, I'm getting that, and that's what's gonna be used every time I'm doing CPU stuff because then I can just flip the motherboard over without worrying about it falling off. So interestingly enough, CPU-Z says my voltage ID or VID is 1.54. So, yeah. Okay, so this seems stable. So now I'm just going to try see how far I can push it with 2 cores enabled. So I'm going to go for 5.2 gigahertz because that's the most the Sabertooth could do on air cooling with 1.6 volts. And that's just boot into Windows, not actually do anything useful. This is also a lot easier to avoid getting into 10. Advanced frequency settings. I'll just drop that down to 200 again. So all the memories back in line, and 26. Advanced voltage setting is 1.6. Save, yes. Let's see, and that's stuck on the postcode. So, I've never used this board before, so let's see what the manual says about this error. I think it's a CPU error. Oh wait, it did something. Okay, so let's see if Gigabyte's crash recovery is any good. Because at this point on the Sabertooth, I'd be manually resetting the damn thing. Well, I'm waiting for the error screen. I think it just blanked out the BIOS. So it just did I think it just did everything for me as far as fixing itself goes. At the cost of all my settings, probably, but nope, it's still not booting, so it's probably just trying to... I think the code was 02. I don't know which way I'm supposed to read it. Okay, well, the crash recovery is garbage. Still hasn't managed to recover, and I still don't know what the error is, but I do have a reset switch, don't I? Let's see. Power it off. That is the reset switch, right? Yeah, okay, that's the reset switch. And let's power it back on again. That button's gonna get freezing cold once I have it on liquid nitrogen. It's not gonna be good. At least there is a button. Right, it'd be so nice if I could show you both the system and the... Okay, so now I'm getting annoyed. Because it still ain't booting. 02. Yep. Okay, so that's a problem. That's not even remotely useful. And that button's actually really awkward to get at. We should have also considered putting LED indicators. So Asus has it that the BIOSes have LED indicators of which one's active. This, as you can probably tell, doesn't have that, so... So far the crash recovery on this thing is garbage compared to just memo-keying all your settings down the drain. At this rate, I'm going to be pulling a battery. Okay, so let's see. So now I'm not happy because this took way longer than it should have to reset a BIOS, but it hasn't reset itself. I hope I still have all my settings in there, so let's see. Okay, it's at default settings as in what it's set to right now, and it wiped itself. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess the lesson with this thing is save profiles. Lots and lots of profiles. So do we have Okay. Yep, okay, there's profiles, so that's good. Ooh. Ooh. That's cool. So that's nice. So you can actually save your overclocking profiles to USB sticks and stuff. So if you kill one motherboard, you can just put it on another motherboard and then another motherboard, or if you know somehow you lose it. So that's nice. That's good. You could also share BIOS settings this way, but again, that's not recommended. As you know, every system needs something slightly different. Unless the system you're stealing your settings from is complete garbage and there's nothing that could possibly clock worse. Okay, so 5.2 doesn't work. which makes me disappointed. And this garbage is all enabled. Okay. Okay, well, this is gonna not be a good day, is it? And here I thought I'd have a motherboard that I'd get along with perfectly. Except then Gigabyte BIOS happened. So I'm not going to enable XMP yet. I'm just going to set the BIOS up so that I have a profile to recover from. So disable all the stupid garbage. Ooh, wait. I think I know what that is. And if that is what I think it is, then that means it can unlock phenoms, which is really super important for me. Also, I forgot to check the maximum voltages, which is key. 2. It can do 2 volts! Can it do 2.2? Oh, yes! 2.3? Also works. 2.4. Well, a certain unfortunate FX-9590 is probably gonna die. Cause here's the thing. So AMD has this like PDF document where you have a list of recommended settings for overclocking, right? And even on LN2, and that includes LN2. And I think that chart says to not go over 2.1 volts, but this goes to 2.3. So, I don't know about you, but I'm not stopping until I hit the maximum. And I'll just keep the calibration normal. 1.65. There's no RAM I use that needs less than 1.65 volts, so it's going to be a good default profile. And memory settings, yep, just keep those. Right, one more thing. Quick. Nah, expert. That way I don't have to deal with a bunch of stuff. So that's, yeah. Good. 200. Disable. Disable. Oh, right, I forgot to run it in 2 cores. I'm dumb. Either way, let's save this profile. Profile name, basics. Balance frequency settings, 22. Yeah, okay, so let's just check that this silly profile works. And if it works, then I can go and try it for 5.2 gigahertz again. And this time, I'm going to remember to disable cores. Now I just realized something that I think is missing. 1 core, 2. No, 1 per CU, 2 per processor, 4 per processor, 6. Where's 1 core? Uh-oh. That's bad. So, if one of the 2 cores in the module that did 8 gigahertz is bad, this board will actually clock worse than the Sabertooth because I can't have just 1 core enabled, which is unfortunate. No, not 52, damn it. 26. No, 25. 26. Voltage settings. 1.625. I'm going to start a little high because I still haven't checked the LLC. I really need to... I guess if I power off the system and then flip it upside down, everything will be fine, and it's not booting again. I don't think it'll recover itself. And I gave it more voltage, so now I'm really, really not pleased. It's crashed, yep. So, CLR CMOS. Okay, well, let's refer back to the manual, because that's what all this session really is, me reading the manual as I run into problems. What does that... Oh, that's useless. Eh, it's just the thing crashing again. That's why it's still stuck on the BIOS. Honestly, I'm not going to do anything, because I need to figure out what those two buttons next to the power on one do. Oh, one of them's... Oh, come on. Okay. Right. I'm dense. I forgot computers normally have a reset button so that you can power. That does. Yeah, okay, that's just a power cycle. I'm dumb. Obviously, I haven't consumed enough sugar today. There is this clear CMOS jumper down here, and I'm like, I think I'll make a button for that, because honestly, I can't deal with that jumper's cancer. So let's load up that profile. Um, hmm. Let's see. So it obviously doesn't want to do 5.2 right off the bat. So, but that's not really that surprising. Because I still haven't. Wait a minute. Oh. Well, there's a lot less VRM settings than on the. Yep. Okay. There's no VRM settings like there was on the Sabertooth. So there's no switching frequency options or anything. Though, depending on how well Gigabyte set up the VRM, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's like those settings are only, like, in my opinion, they're optional, because if the board knows what it's doing, you shouldn't need them. Let's try 25 at 1.5 volts. That sounds like it could work. Wait, 1.55. Just in case. Still the same error. Okay, so which direction am I supposed to read the postcode on? Is it from here? Is it 02? I think it's 02. So here's the thing, right? Oops, sorry. That postcode LED. No, LED. There we go. Which, like, do I read it like this? Or do I read it like that? Right? Because I think I was supposed to read it like that, but from the angle, like the second angle, well, from the, whatever, with the PSU in the bottom of the screen, that angle, but so that it reads 02, but I don't think I found anything for a 02 code in the manual, though I might just be blind. Oh well, I'll just use the BIOS button again. Booting 5 GHz really shouldn't be this hard. I mean, I fed it a ton of voltage and also unless of course the chip is degraded as hell from my escapades on LN2, so you know what? I'm first going to figure out the LLC settings. So I'm going to feed the chip 1.45, save and exit setup, yes, and time to flip the motherboard over and do some actual measuring. So first I'll let it boot up once just to check that the whole damn thing still works. And then it'll be upside down. I'll need to put something under the graphics card. Will this tape? Is that? Nope, that's not tall enough. Is this tall enough? Ooh, that is close. That is very, very close. And now it's not booting again. So reset switch. I think maybe me messing around with the graphics card probably caused it not working. Okay, I withdraw that statement. It's still black screening. Why though? I gave it more voltage. It shouldn't, unless the BIOS, alright. Okay, so obviously I've screwed something up on that profile. So it's not really the motherboard's fault that it couldn't boot 5 gigahertz. I've obviously screwed something else up. Because it can't even get into Windows right now. And it's at 4.5 gigahertz, so let's see. I'm going to put profile 1. Boop, boop. And, yeah. Okay. Okay, so now, yep, okay, now it's working. And Windows thinks it needs to fix itself. God, I hate 10. Okay, so now everything seems to work fine, so I'll just power down the system, flip it over, and we can start doing measurements. Actually, flipping it upside down might be a really bad idea. Maybe I could just... How far is the heatsink from the... Oh, okay. So, this heatsink is basically in line with the edge of that the motherboard, so if I just tip this thing, this is 100% safe. I totally recommend this. You try doing this at home. Not. Back of the board's pretty hot. Stable. More or less. Now the metal reinforced PCIe slots make a lot more sense, don't they? Because Gigabyte knew it would be in my hands. So, now I can actually get measurements from the VRM, which means I should get you to actually see what it is that I will be measuring from. So, here is gigabytes VRM. And I'm going to play with the focus a little bit later. So get you on a box here. Ta-da. Ignore the kitchen. And yes, that Nutella jar and ketchup bottle moved literally 10 centimeters so that they weren't in the camera shots from before. I just forgot about them. So, yeah, if you remember those from the LN2 session or any other session, yeah, that's where they've been for quite a while now. This is scary. Oh, well, it shouldn't be too bad. So, should I do temperatures first or voltages first? No, because I want to do temperatures by sticking the probe under the heatsink, which I can't do from here because I'd just be sensing from the PCB, and obviously that's lossy. And also, yeah, using the paper here for that is not great. So, let's get that button. This is so not good. Oh, look, it has LEDs. So, now I can't see the postcode, so I've just made that thing completely useless to myself. Let's get voltage metering up and running. Probes. So I'll just be running some Cinebench, or Signbench. You know what, I'll just call it Signbench. Screw it. There. So, ta-da. And unfortunately, this part of it, which is supposed to measure current of anything that's, like, put through it, is broken. So, there you can see the voltage. I could maybe rest this against the motherboard, but I don't really want to do that for reasons you can probably understand on your own. You don't need me to explain why I don't want to put anything on the board. So there we go. Okay, so here's my tip. If you have the option to put these plastic caps on your probes, do it, because you risk, you don't risk shorting ground to VCore, and shorting ground to VCore, while not particularly dangerous, is not pleasant and does run the risk of blowing VRMs up. So, it's in voltage mode, and I despise this multimeter. And it ain't reading shit. And it still ain't reading 1.2. Really? Oh, right, that's Northbridge. So down here we have some Northbridge capacitors. They're on their own plane. I think that's the two of them. Then we got all these up here, and those are VCore. Or, you could take VCore off of the back of the CPU, right there. But that's more of a pain in my opinion. So I'll just do it from where I think is a good idea. And if you think you have a better idea where you could do it from, you can do it from there. So, now I have no space. Okay, so I wish I wasn't using the ground right there. I mean, I could use the... No, that's probably... Should they? They should be grounded. That doesn't mean they are grounded, though. Oh, well. God damn it, read. This freaking thing is really, really getting on my nerves. .43, so we're running 20 millivolts under what I set. So, that's negative 20 millivolts. That's not really great. Let's run some Cinebench. and see where it drops off to. I'll also have temperature probing on for obvious reasons. I don't want to burn my 9590. I mean, I'm already putting it at enough risk doing this shit, so let's not set it on fire as well. Let's run that, and while that's running, get some readings. And system didn't crash. That's a lot of droop. So right now it's reading 1.38. So that's what? 70 millivolts down from what I want? That's awful. Well, there's no wonder it didn't boot 5.2, because if it's dropping this much, and I don't know if it's dropping by percentage or set voltage, then really I think it wouldn't be that much of a difference. That's a truckload of droop. That's like, so 20 idle, 50 off, 50 more fall off afterwards. Damn. Yep, it is not running any voltage through that CPU. So, yeah, okay. Okay, so that explains a lot. So next up, Extreme LLC. The last motherboard from Gigabyte that I tested, which had an Extreme LLC setting, the LLC was extreme. It was like, say, putting a turbocharger in like the cheapest, shittiest car you can think of. So like for me, that would be like a Skoda Trabant, right? Putting a giant turbocharger in that, and you step on the gas, and it, nothing really happens, and then you step on the gas more, and you find yourself in a tree because that VRM was doing like 150 millivolts voltage boost. So you set it to like 1.4, it gave you 1.55, and it was just like, oh my god. And that was on the 78 the 78 LMT-USB 3 from Gigabyte. So that's the MATX 4+1 phase VRM AM3 board, it's like the one don't overclock on, and it had that ridiculous LLC setting. But hey, it was labeled extreme, so I guess I can't complain, because it sure as hell was extreme. So right now I'm just going to run medium LLC, because normal obviously doesn't do anything. I think medium should be just about right to get the voltage to be flat, but, if I can't find a flat one, so wait, how do they go? There was normal, there was extreme, there was medium, was there high? I hope there was a high setting. Well, let's see. I'm surprised the system hasn't like crapped out yet. CPU temperatures aren't well, okay, now they're okay again, so I'm not sure. Still, dodgy as hell to run a system this way. Let's get Cinebench opened up and get more measurements. Really, because I don't have ripple measurements from any other motherboards, it doesn't make sense. Like, it won't be really useful for me to measure the ripple of this motherboard because there's no other motherboard I can compare it to because I don't have another motherboard that I've tested. But let's just get our voltage measurements now. And please, BV core. I don't want to keep reaching up high. Damn it, BV core. 1.43. So now we're getting 20 millivolts drop on load. I'm impressed. So it looks like medium LLC is what you want to. So if you want to run this motherboard in a daily system, run medium LLC. It's only 20 millivolts drop, so that's not bad. The other LLC setting is low, which is going to be garbage, and the other one is extreme, if I remember correctly. And we all know what extreme does. It's extreme. So yeah, the extreme setting on Gigabyte boards quite literally embodies my motto of keep calm and raise vCore, because I mean, I'll demonstrate it later in the video, so you'll see it. So let's restart the board again and change settings and take more measurements. And if you were wondering how I review motherboards, this is basically what I do to review motherboards. Okay, so we're at medium right now. And what's the next one? Low standard. Somehow I think low is going to be garbage, so I'm just going to skip low and go straight to standard and see what that does. Ooh, I forgot to take idle readings for medium. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Really, what you want with an LLC setting is a very little drop from from idle to load, because that lets you run lower idle voltages. So far the motherboard is holding up to all my abuse. Okay, so let's check idle voltage, just since I already can. 1.43. Somehow I feel this is going to drop below what medium did. And standard and normal seem to be the exact same setting with two different names. What a waste of space, isn't it? What a waste of freaking space. So another restart, change settings. Ripple current measurement's going to be a pain. I don't see a good grounding plane anywhere on here. You know what? I'm not going to ripple test this board. Oops, I let it restart fully. Because here's the thing. For a ripple, here's how these probes work for the oscilloscopes. This goes to ground. This goes to what you're probing. I need to find a ground that's like, you know, not too far away. There's not a whole lot of ground accessible here. Well, not safely for a crocodile clip to, ouch, it bit me, to use. Because you can't actually catch a crocodile clip on pins properly. I've tried, it sucks. It really doesn't work. I could maybe try latch it to the screws, which should be grounded, but not 100% certain. And even then, it's very likely to slip off, so yeah, I'm just not gonna do ripple measurements. I'm just gonna do voltage settings. So next up is extreme, because obviously low is useless, and then I'm gonna do a temperature test with the VRM, where I'm just gonna stick the temperature probe inside the VRM and we'll see how hot it gets. And for that test, I will get the motherboard lifted off the desk a little, because it's not really fair to Windows. Get the hell out of my way. Is that the button? Because it's not really fair to measure VRM temperature when you have a giant paper box under the motherboard. Because this really is just a bunch of insulation and it's laying straight flat on it. There's no standoffs, you know, so it's pretty much the worst case scenario for VRM thermals, which I don't feel is a fair test. So yeah, let's try that extreme LLC. I'm expecting extreme things. Those LEDs are nice. Okay, so we're back in Windows. Let's check the idle voltage. Prepare to be stunned. Quite probably. Well, this looks to be another one of those I spit flames LLC settings. So it's already at 1.47 volts. What did I set in the BIOS again? Oh, right, 1.45. Uh-oh. This is gonna go, well, it's gonna go fine. It's just gonna go fine with a ton of voltage. That is completely uncalled for. For extreme overclocking, yeah, extreme LLC makes sense. But for most people, the extreme LLC setting should, like, not be the second option when you're just pressing the plus sign. Yep, that's 1.53 volts. Brutal LLC. That's it. Yep. And the freaking heatsink is doing 60 degrees. So, yeah. This LLC setting has the usual gigabyte extreme punch that I've just grown to expect, I guess. Where it's you set the extreme LLC and you get some extreme voltage boost because 1.53, well, round it up, so 1.54 because this thing's dodgy as hell. So just to be sure, so 1.54 volts, right? Um, that's a lot of voltage. But more importantly, I set like 4.5, so it's giving us 90 or even 80 millivolts, if we take the smaller number. So it's giving us 90 millivolts of voltage boost at load, and what was it, 20 at idle. So yeah, that's some extreme LLC for you right there. That's why I absolutely bash most motherboard reviewers because like I remember reading this one X79 review where they enable extreme LLC on an ASRock board, and then they go, oh yeah, this motherboard clocks better than all these other motherboards where the Asus also had extreme LLC. Everybody else was running also extreme LLC, but ASRock's extreme LLC for X79 gives you something like 1.55 or like some stupid voltage, right? Whereas on the Rampage 4 Extreme, it only gives like 70 millivolts boost or 60 millivolts boost. I tested it. It's not that heavy. It's not ridiculous amounts of free voltage. Whereas on the ASRock it is, and they're like, oh yeah, the ASRock is the better overclocking motherboard. No, it freaking isn't. You're running Extreme LLC. It's not even running the same core voltage. It's like, yeah, it's running, you set the same voltage, but your LLC setting influences so much. So now I'll try to post 5.2 gigahertz again with 1.62 medium LLC settings and, and 2 cores enabled. And this time it should work. Well, I'll first start at 5 gigahertz just to be safe. Well, not to be safe, just to be sure that I'm doing everything fairly. And I need to get this board down. Damn. You're not booting? But either way, so far I'm pretty happy with this board. I mean, sure, the Extreme LLC packs a punch like any Extreme LLC should. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called Extreme. But yeah, and the Medium Extreme LLC, yep, Medium LLC seems to be doing its job. Actually, let's check it while it's idling right now, since I still haven't checked that. So let's check idles. Yep. And we're basically on top of 1.62. I saw like 1.616 or something like that. So next up, so obviously it just booted 5 gigahertz. Now I'm just gonna power down the system. No, not restart. Damn it. Fuck this. Ouch. That graphics card is getting stupid hot. I really need to. I should have used the GTX 570 for this. There we go. And I didn't even warp the motherboard too badly. There we go. So far, I'd say this is a great board for anybody considering considering doing AM3 plus benchmarking. You know, just from what I've seen so far on my review scoring system, I don't know. The thing about the VRMs is hard locked, as I explained in the past. You can't get a 10 if your VRM's not a real 8, because real 8s are the best thing ever. So if you don't have a real 8, I'm sorry, no 10s for you. Wait, I need to power this on. So how did Huh. I need to figure out what makes that hell of a crack. It might be a power breaker somewhere in the house going off. This thing has a lot of inrush current. This one right here. So right, 5.2 gigahertz next. So 25.5, just to check that 5.1 works. And after that, I need to figure out what, you know, in OS utility I need to get for this. For this motherboard. And sorry, you can't see anything because I'm dense. There we go. Well, there's not really much to see here. Eh. And that does not seem to be stable, which is bad. Let's see, reset. Okay, so it's booting. I'm fine so far. I don't know why it can't get into Windows, though. The chipset heatsink's hot. Okay, now it's in Windows for... Oh, wait, restart my PC again. Ugh. And now it doesn't want to boot again, so... Obviously not stable enough. So it does look like this board just straight up clocks worse. Yep, still not booting. No, don't prepare automatic repair. I don't need anything repaired. Mouse support in Gigabyte BIOS is terrible. Also, it doesn't seem to want to just scroll through. Now, where are the fan settings? Nope, still the same level of instability. Huh, maybe if I change RAM sticks to the ones I used on the Sabertooth, it'll behave better. That could help. Apply. VRM heatsink is decently hot. You know what? I'll stick the thermal probe into the VRM right now because it just seems like convenient. Pause with the system off. So, damn it. Ouch. No worries about ripping the card out of the board, but still, hella hard to get it out. Keep this powered off just in case. Damn, that thing is hot. I need to deal with that. Everything in this area, well, the North Bridge especially seems to be on fire. Let's see. Right now, admittedly, on fire touching metal with your hand is not necessarily particularly hot. Because, you know, your ability to feel heat is dependent on your skin temperature, and metal feels hotter than other stuff because, well, it'll transfer heat into your skin much faster. And the probe is saying it's only around, yeah, it's only around 40 something degrees, and I already it's like 46 probably, or 40, yeah, so it's not even 50 and I already think it's pretty hot. So there we go. Let's see, how can I shove the probe in there? I need to screw it off, won't I? I really want to do that. I should be able to just cram it in between the heatsink and the inductors. So what I'll be doing is I'll shove the probe right sorta in that area. And yeah, sorry about the focus, but that's where I plan to shove the probe. Because it's convenient. Sure, it won't get me as good temperature readings as if I figured out how to get it somewhere in the middle, but maybe I should just get it in the middle anyway. There we go. So, electrical tape. So now I need scissors, which have, in their usual manner, just decided to disappear. Well, that's great. Oh well, let's see. Can I? There we go. Okay, that'll get halfway decent readings, I think. You know, if it gets really hot, then I'll know for sure. If it doesn't get all that hot, then So yeah, if you're using this in a daily system, probably consider sticking a fan over the VRM. So alright, that's done. Memory stick. Where did that Kingston one go? Ah, there it is. Yep. And now back to these XMS3s. So let's get that in there. The 8-pin back in position and GPU back. Oh. There we go. And right, need to power this baby on. And right, I need the HDMI cable. There we go. So, the temperature probe is saying it's in the 40 somethings right now. Yeah, so it's only at like 47 degrees. Wherever it is that I managed to... Nah, it's now diagnosing my PC. Stupid Windows 10. Wait, there's disk errors? You gotta be kidding me. This OS fell apart in what? Couple minutes of streaming? That's the record, I think. Oh, it booted up. So, are we at 5.1 gigahertz or are we back at stock? Nope, it's at 5.1. Okay, so it looks like Windows was just broken. That's why you should use an OS that you can actually trust, not 10. It's like some people complain that 10 spies on you. I don't really think, like, yeah, okay, the spying on you is bad, but the whole thing with not working most of the time is worse. Oh yeah, the memory's already over, well, it's not really overclocked, because by default, this memory should be 2000, and right now it's running 1800. Either way, I want 5.2 gigahertz, so I'm gonna go get me some 5.2 gigahertz. Voltage settings are aligned for it. The VRM probe is being retarded, is one way to put what it's being. So, there we go. Dodgy connection. So the thing is, these things measure... Yeah, can I get it? So yeah, that's the VRM right now, 50 degrees, which is more or less okay. I'm afraid of what I'll see if I ran something like Cinebench or even, you know, Intel burn test. So, yeah, my recommendation for really anything on if you're running a, you know, 8 core on any motherboard, you should strongly consider a fan on the VRM. The shittier the motherboard, the bigger the fan on the VRM. If there is no stock heatsink, get some heatsinks. If the stock heatsink is dingy, get a bigger heatsink. Because, you know, there's a limit of how much you can do with just pure airflow. So, I'm just going to give it 1.625. See if that works for 5.2 gigahertz. So right now the VRM is just under 60 degrees, but I haven't put any load on it. However, I have pushed a ton of voltage through it. So is the postcode... Okay, it's rolling. System going good so far. Still going strong. And it seems to have crashed. It's not good. Oh, honestly, I'm not really that fussed about the 5.2 gigahertz not being 100% bootable, because if I do remember correctly, I don't think I actually booted 5.2 on the Saber. What I did was I booted 5.5 something on the Saber. And especially, I didn't have the Saber this warmed up. This thing is running warm right now. It's just like, VRM is at almost 60 degrees. So yeah, I'll just take a notch out of the multiplier and see if I can how close I can get it to 5.2. So, just give it a tad bit of base of FSB. So I'll pull it up to 202 FSB and see what it'll do. Because 25 multiplier times 202 is 5.15. So this is 5.15 gigahertz right now. If this boots, I'm happy. If it doesn't boot, then me and this motherboard are going to have a problem. Which I'll probably solve with capacitors. Actually, no, because I'd need to put them on the back of the board, and that's just a massive freaking pain. Okay, that boots just fine. Okay, so it looks like if I had a tweaking utility that could, run in Windows, everything would be good. So basically right now, I think this motherboard is golden for, I mean, yeah, it's not a crosshair formula, but then again, it costs, what, half of the crosshair? So, if you're worried about killing a motherboard, you can buy 2 of these for the price of a crosshair. So yeah, I'm just gonna reset it again. And now I'm gonna do the VRM temperature test, so, put it back to 1.45 volts. Actually, no, I'm gonna feed it 1.5, gonna set it to 4.7 gigahertz, because that's like reasonably stressful without being fire hazard territory. And I'm gonna run some Cinebench. And by the looks of everything so far, I think it's basically gonna be, I'm gonna do another attempt at Windows, you're being stupid. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do another 8 gigahertz attempt with this board, just to, practice LN2 on this. And then after that, I'll do some benchmarking. See, I wanted to do a GPU Pi on the CPU stream, which incidentally, on what I wanted to benchmark a triple core Phenom or Athlon. Okay, in GPU Pi. GPU Pi on a triple core Phenom or Athlon takes over 20 minutes. So for all of those people who say, oh, LN2 overclocking is not for stability, 20 minutes of 100% CPU load is what you need to do, like what you need to be capable of stabilizing to get, some of the available records, which I'm personally interested in. So, there's gonna be a stream of that if all things work out well, which they should. Right, and voltage settings, and I'm gonna put it to 1.5, and yeah, medium LLC is the best for this board. Just for daily overclocking. Absolutely never ever touch extreme LLC on any motherboard, ever. Just don't, okay? Just do me the favor. Do it for Buildzoid. Don't use extreme LLC. It's like, no, just don't. It's like if you watched my really crappy analogy of overclocking a CPU is like improving work rates in a company with drugs, then do it for Bob. Don't feed him a ton of voltage and kill him with it. So let's run Cinebench and see what those temperatures are at. And I'm going to have to run several passes of Cinebench for this to be even remotely meaningful, because obviously one pass of Cinebench is going to tell us everything's not really too badly on fire. 3 of them, which is usually what I go for, is going to be a little more interesting. So temperature's already climbing slowly. Also, this probe isn't buried inside the VRM proper. Now, the VRM is rated for 320 amps at 25 degrees centigrade. So at room temperature, it's a beast. Absolute fucking beast. But at room temperature, everything's a beast. So the thing is, like, it'll derate. And I think at 100 degrees or slightly over 100 degrees, it'll be about half its normal rating, so about 160 amps, which, if you think about it, 160 times 1.5 is huge. You know, that's a huge number. That's, let me get a calculator. So first run finished, already over 8 points. 1.5 times 160. So that's 240 watts, right? So even at 100 degrees, it should be able to do, well, yeah, 240 watts. Because 1.5 times 160. So, yeah. Incidentally, this cooler can handle about well, in this setup, it can do about 200 something. In the 2.5K RPM fan setup, it could do 280. And this 9590 is starting to warm the room up. VRM temperature at 70 degrees. You know what? I'm gonna dangle the VRM off of the just 70 and climbing. You know what? I'm gonna dangle the VRM off of the just to help cooling a tad. Just dangle it over the side of the box. Cause while I do like torture testing, I'm not that sadistic. I'd like to not burn out my brand new motherboard. 76 degrees, still climbing. So I don't think this is gonna. This is, yeah, okay, this is not gonna be the last pass. But at this point, yeah, get a freaking fan on that heatsink, because this isn't even buried in the VRM proper. And it's already hitting 77. And it just keeps climbing. Yeah, I think if I keep running Cinebench at this rate, it's gonna hit 100 degrees. Still no CPU throttling going on. And do keep in mind, this is at 1.48 volts right now, so that's quite a lot of voltage. And CPU temperatures are at 65 degrees, which is, you know, proof of how good the Fantex heatsink is. Though, admittedly, if you put it in a case, you know, you get much less airflow on tap. So just keep running. 80 degrees on the thermometer. Okay, I think this is not going to stabilize anytime soon. There's still no throttling happening on the CPU. Angle it more. Okay, it's starting to stabilize, so, well, stabilize. Still climbing. Yeah. You know what? Just stick a fan on it. It's just like, I already know where this is gonna go, so. Also, along with the motherboard, if you've heard about my idea about the project that I have where I'm gonna go and make cheap dry ice pots, this is the heatsink I'm gonna be using for that. So this is going to be an experiment to try make the cheapest dry ice cooling pots ever. And I think this is going to work as long as it doesn't leak the acetone slash isopropanol slash ethanol slash whatever other, you know, low temperature compound you want to use. So yeah. this is the heatsink that I think will work. And I chose it because, you know, there's no, wait, there. See, there's no holes between the fins on that edge. So it's basically, I'm going to attach a sheet. You can just attach a sheet of metal here, sheet of metal there, sheet of metal here, you know, just extend it, essentially. And in theory, this should be a great dry ice pot because you got surface area, and a lot of your mass is going to come from the liquid that you pour into this. So yeah, I get a free fan, which is why I actually pulled it out right now. Oh, free fan. So yeah, so this is actually what the inside of the dry ice pot would look like. That would be your base. So yeah, the dry ice wouldn't actually fall into there, but that's why you use the isopropanol or, you know, ethanol, or I don't need to repeat all of them again, do I? So yeah, I could just throw this on the VRM here. And the VRM's at 85 already. So in defense of the poor unfortunate VRM, let's get that fan going. And yeah, so now it's blowing straight. So here's the thing, with the VRM fan, because of the angle, it's blowing that way. Blows through the, yeah, okay, yeah, see? Huge, huge drop. So it was at 85 a few seconds ago. As you can see right now, it's running Signbench right now. I'm gonna pull you off the stand and show you everything as it is right now so that you can see that the fan really makes a huge difference. This is why I like, see, so there's the fan, right? It's literally just sitting there right now because it's a horizontal setup. Obviously, if you have a test bench case like I do, this is why one of the good big benefits for one of those. Right, so 76 degrees on the VRM. It was at 80 earlier, and Cinebench is running right now. See, still hasn't frozen. So yeah, all is well when you put a fan on an AMD VRM. Really, I can't find it kind of sad that you see a lot of like, there was the Z87 Force motherboard from Gigabyte, which had like this huge heatsink. Oops, sorry about that. Energy drink making its presence known. Or, you know, the case of the M-Power. Look at this. This is what they cool an M-Power with. That's a VRM that's never going to see more than like 300 watts, even on LN2. And this is what they throw on it. And then you have this, which, you know, 200 watt heat load right now, and I'm not even doing much. And you know, this probably weighs more than the entire VRM chipset Northbridge heatsink that this board has combined, because this is an actual freaking heatsink for a VRM, whereas this is a joke. So yeah, that's really like that, but that's just a plague of AMD motherboards, completely inadequate to cooling on the VRMs, so you need to stick fan on them. But the fan is doing a great job. Yep, it's still falling. So now if I run Cinebench, I bet it won't even. Yep, it's still falling, and I'm running Cinebench again right now, so we're not sponsored by these guys. Yep, so with that little dinky fan which I just threw on there, which barely made a difference in the overall noise level this is making, mostly thanks to this graphics card, it's under 60 degrees. It's coming back up again now, but yeah, you can definitely get the VRM to run really, really, really cool if you just stick a fan on it. So, yeah. But overall, I'm really happy with this motherboard. I mean, yeah, the VRM is a little eh, but then again, this motherboard is cheap, so. And for all of you gamers out there, you got your M.2, there's USB, there's a C port, Type C. There's a 3.1 port, there's, you know, you have your killer Ethernet, your audio stuff. There's a swappable op amp in the audio section. There's a dip switch for who the hell knows what. I really only care about this side, like everything away from that side of the motherboard. So, yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. So yeah, this was basically just, say hello to the new motherboard I'm gonna be using. Me getting to know the motherboard. So hello, motherboard, you don't suck. That's basically the conclusion of this video there. I mean stream. And yeah, I think me and this motherboard will get along, right? No explosions. Um, and yeah, so do the 5 people currently watching want to do an Ask Me Anything, or, should I wrap it up here and go? Because either is totally fine, and I'm done with this system. This is pretty much done. I mean, yeah, for me personally, I might do some more advanced temperature measuring, but all the voltage measurements, I have them. Uh, I don't remember them, but it's not really that important because I say the useful setting and the what the extreme setting does. I don't detail the other ones because it's like, why would you use them? They're not good. Um, so yeah, so people in favor of AMA, post in the chat. If you want me to answer questions for a few minutes, then here's your chance. I know there's only 5 of you, and most of you are probably pretty experienced, so that's that. Okay, see ya, Cola. Um, well, time to power this down. Well, I must say, like, I'm really impressed with Gigabyte's effort on a motherboard that's, what I consider budget. I mean, yeah, the VRM could be better. But then again, the VRM on just about anything could be better. Um, so there we go. That's powered down. So do people not want the IMA? Because I'm not seeing any, any chat messages about ask me anything sessions. And as soon as well, I'm basically done with this at this point. So yeah, we're gonna get one glorious look at me, and then we're gonna go goodbye, eh? Actually, I'll just move this back on there before it like flips off. And yep. Okay, so whoops, that's the kitchen. There we go. That's me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the session. Like, share, subscribe, donate. Um, and yeah, goodbye for today's session. And yeah, and again, for everybody who missed the earlier announcement, there is going to be a stream Saturdays and Wednesdays. Just assume there is a stream. It'll start at 7, like I'll try to start at 7 p.m. UK time. So right now that's GMT +1. In the winter that's just straight GMT. And so yeah, UK time 7 p.m. If I'm not on by 7:30 p.m., there's not going to be a stream. I'm never ever going to violate this because, it's easier for me to announce streams that way because it's just awkward to keep promoting myself on different websites and stuff. It's like I can't keep giving people notifications through Reddit because it's anti-Reddit. I'm not going to try pronounce that. Basically, people don't like it when you spam links to yourself on their website. All right, everybody understands that. So I hope you. Damn it, my accent's all over the place again. Almost slipped full on like bad British accent, which I'm trying not to do. Um, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.